Viltrox has been killing it lately with their lineup of affordable compact prime lenses. For those not familiar with Viltrox, they released their first trio of prime lenses a couple of years ago. And these lenses came in at 23, 33, and 56mm focal lengths for APS-C cameras, and all featured a maximum aperture of 1.8. These initial lenses were for the Sony E-mount and Fuji X-mount cameras. Shortly after their release, Viltrox made them available for the Canon EF-M mount. Now, Viltrox has brought this trio of APS-C lenses to Nikon Z-mount, and they didn't stop there. They've also released an 85mm 1.8 and a 20mm 1.8 for Nikon Z full frame. And now, they've released a 24mm and 35mm 1.8 for Nikon Z and Sony FE mount. I've got the 24mm 1.8 here for Sony E mount. How does this lens perform? Let's put it through its paces and find out. Viltrox's build quality is consistent amongst all their lenses, and the 24mm 1.8 is no exception. It features a metal barrel with a plastic focus ring. The lens, like all other Viltrox lenses to date, features a declicked aperture ring. Now, I would have preferred a clicked aperture ring, but that's just me and that's a matter of preference. There is an A marker on the lens, on the aperture ring, so when you put the ring on the A, aperture control reverts back to the camera. The lens mount is metal and features a USB-C port for firmware updates. Viltrox has updated many of their lenses' firmware, and each update has brought improved performance, so you can have some peace of mind knowing that the lens you buy will only get better over time. There is a lens hood and a rear cap included. The lens hood is, yep, you guessed it, plastic, and it features a pinch cover. The lens internals feature a 9-blade diaphragm and 11 elements in 9 groups. It also features HD nano coating to suppress flare and ghosting. Autofocus is handled via an STM stepping motor. As you'll hear later in the video, autofocus is quiet and quick. Eye autofocus is also supported on both Nikon Z and Sony E-mount cameras. Although this lens is intended for full-frame cameras, you can use it on APS-C, Sony E, or Nikon Z cameras. Using it on an APS-C camera will give you a 36mm approximate field of view. It uses 55mm filters and weighs in at 12 ounces or 350 grams for those of you outside the US. The minimum focus distance is 11.8 inches or 30 centimeters. This gets you close, but not macro close to your subjects. How does the lens perform? Let's take a look at some sample pics in Lightroom. Okay, so we're taking a look at some pics shot on the Viltrox 24mm 1.8. These were taken with the Sony A7C, and I'll just go over a few different scenarios here. So the first scenario, I'm shooting at f1.8. You can see here there is a good bit of vignetting. The good news is that vignetting is easily solved in the latest version of Lightroom. A simple click of Enable Profile Corrections fixes it, and you see that the vignetting is drastically reduced and almost eliminated. This lens does suffer from a bit of pin cushion distortion, but again, that is solved by using the profile corrections that are in Lightroom. So, moving on. Another here at f1. Actually, this one's at 3.5. You'll see that the vignetting is drastically reduced by 3.5. It pretty much goes away by f5.6. You see here 1.8, good bit of vignetting, but again, enable profile corrections, and boom, it's solved. It's a good look at the sun stars that you can get on the lens. Now, this was shot at f16. And yeah, there is a bit of purple fringing here that you can see in this situation. In this example, it's a bit reduced. But yes, chromatic aberration is a flaw of this lens. It is easily solved, again, by turning on Enable Profile Corrections in Lightroom, and it drastically reduces that. You get a nice sun star on this. It's not too great, but you know, it's not bad. here's another one, enable profile corrections, and it solves the vignetting. That's a good example of the vignetting at 1.8. You see here, boom, solves that. And another as well. And this gives you a good shot of the pincushion distortion around the edges. See here how that moves in. Here's another one. This is shot at f1.8. Again, you can see profile correction solves the pincushion distortion issue. So, what's the verdict on the Viltrox 24mm 1.8? This lens is a great complement to the Sony a7C or one of the lighter Nikon cameras like the Z5, and is well balanced when attached to this light camera. There are a number of 24mm 1.8 lenses for the Sony E-mount, from the $800 Sony Sonar T to the $450 Rokinon or Samyang 24mm. I'm going to compare this more to the Rokinon Samyang 24mm because obviously it's closer in price point. The Sony Sonar 24 is about twice the price, so let's not do that comparison. Compared to the Rokinon 24mm 1.8, the Viltrox lens is $20 cheaper and has a slightly better build with an aperture ring. Also, the Rokinon Samyang lens requires the purchase of a lens dock to perform a firmware upgrade. This is a $50 item and puts the real cost of the Samyang lens at $500. The Rokinon 24mm has a lighter and smaller footprint, coming in at 8.1 ounces or 230 grams versus the 12 ounces or 340 grams for the Viltrox. Both lenses are still considered pretty light in comparison to the Sony Sonar. The big advantage for the Rokinon over the Viltrox is minimum focus distance. The Rokinon can get as close as 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. If you like to get close, that extra 4 inches might be enough to sway you towards the Rokinon. Overall, I give the Viltrox 24mm 1.8 high marks. It's fast, it's quiet to focus, it's relatively small and light, it pairs well with the Sony a7C, which is my Sony camera of choice. It looks good wide open, performs well for video. At 1.8, there's good definition in the center of the frame. It's just about everything you'd want from a lens, including a price point that makes it feel like a bargain. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the thumbs up button. And if you haven't, again, please click the subscribe button to get notifications when new videos become available. Thanks a bunch, and I'll see you in the next one.